Welcome in, everybody. It's Wind Up Wednesday here at FTN, and this is a slightly different Wind Up Wednesday. I am currently dealing with a hurricane, so we're pre-recording this as opposed to going live, but that doesn't mean I still can't hang out with you and talk with you and share some of my prize picks for TNF, which is what this show is all about, everybody. My name is Lauren Carpenter. You can find me at Stepmom Lauren. And this is the TNF Prize Picks prop show here at FTN. And we'll be getting into that in just a minute. But if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks yet, first of all, what are you waiting for? That's usually my intro into Prize Picks because not only is it really easy, it's also really, really fun. It's simple. It's multiple sports. You're looking at over-unders. That's it. You can make a 2-leg parlay, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Pick if it's over or under, make your bet, boom, that's it. You can do a power play, which is get all of them right. You can do a flex play, which means you can get a few of them right. It's super fun. I am here to help navigate some of the interesting picks that we have for this Thursdays, which is tomorrow, because today is Wednesday, just a little bit earlier than our 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern live show like we normally do. But when you sign up for Prize Picks, make sure you use the promo code FTN, because that gets your first deposit up to $100 matched. So that means if you put in $50, you get an extra $50. If you put in $100, PrizePicks gives you an extra $100, so you have $200 to play with. It is so fun. Again, over-unders, super duper easy. And when you're done with that and you make your picks, head on over to our site, actually one of our websites, ftndaily.com. We have a free Prize Picks tracker tool. You just put in your picks that you made, and then you can follow along. And then even our picks are in there. In fact, when I'm done with this show, I'm going to go ahead and put my picks in with mine. We have all sorts of experts that do this across all different sports. Follow along with us. Our record is up there to see how well we're doing. It's really easy. We also have a Discord channel for our prize picks as well. It's the little chat bubble icon up at the top. And while you're there, scope out and see the amazing tools and info that we have over at FTN Daily at ftnfantasy.com. And if you like what you see, I know some of it's behind a paywall because it is really, really good information. But luckily for you, if you use my promo code, which is SML, you get 20% off any package that's out there, guys. That's fantasy football, it's redraft, it's rankings, it's so many amazing things that we have over there, but it's also DFS, it's also other sports. Remember, promo code SML, just like Stepmom Lauren over at FTN Fantasy and FTNDaily.com. And over at Prize Picks, use the FTN promo code to get your first deposit of up to $100 matched. So now that you've gone over and signed up, because I'm sure you pressed pause on this video, went over there, signed up for Prize Picks using the promo code FTN. Now you got some money to play with. So let's take a look at this Thursday's matchup, which is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers. This is kind of a head scratcher for me. I never would have thought that I was really excited to go watch the Falcons do things, especially with Marcus Mariota as the starting quarterback. But here we are. 2022 has been a weird season. Just ask Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Been real bad for them. But that's the kind of the division that we're talking about here, right? Is the NFC South. And what is super curious about this is what the Carolina Panthers did at quarterback. So they benched Baker Mayfield. He got hurt and whatever. But PJ Walker played so badly in last week's game. I think he only threw for like 9 yards, 2 interceptions. So they benched PJ Walker and brought Baker Mayfield back in. And then Baker Mayfield just went ham. But then they're re-benching Baker Mayfield to put PJ Walker back in at quarterback. And that is where we start here for our Prize Picks TNF. I'm going to go ahead and just start off with what Prize Picks calls Philip Walker. Like, that sounds so fancy to me, but we know him as PJ Walker. This line is a little interesting, and I want to walk through this really quickly because I don't hate it if you want to do the over. I just want to say that right now. So I have him on the under or the less at 175.5 passing yards. Now, the reason why this can be a little tricky is the last time that the Panthers played the Falcons, PJ Walker threw for over 300 yards. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but the Atlanta Falcons are really bad on defense against wide receivers. They are like Swiss cheese. They're like, oh, wide receiver, would you like a touchdown? They're like Oprah, passing out yards and fantasy points and touchdowns. The problem with this is that is PJ Walker in a spiraling downhill situation right now? After losing Christian McCaffrey, what exactly are we going to expect out of this offense? Now, I know he's had some really good passes down to DJ Moore. I know he's been really trying to get it over to Marshall, but this is suspect to me. I don't know how long Walker is actually going to be in the game. He very easily can get pulled because the Atlanta Falcons are lighting up right now. With Cordell Patterson coming back, it gives so much energy, not just to their offense, but also to their defense. So I went ahead and I did the under on the 175 and a half passing yards for PJ Walker. And just as a reminder, when I said Baker Mayfield went ham, he threw for over 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. And PJ Walker only did 3 completions on 10 attempts for 9 whole yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That could happen again. And if it does, Baker Mayfield can step in. So I'm going to take the under on this. If you want to rely on the numbers and you think PJ Walker's going to have a bounce back, I don't mind taking the over because I think this line is fair and pretty steadfast. So I think you can do the over or the under. I'm not sure how close he's going to get to this. He's either going to blow it out of the water or it's going to be absolute garbage. So I'm going to go on the garbage side and I'm going to go the under on 175 and a half passing yards. Also, as a reminder too, these lines do change, everybody. So PrizePicks will alter these lines as the days go by, as the hours go by. So that line may not be exactly the same. So make sure your notifications are turned on for our FTN YouTube channel. First of all, subscribe. Second of all, turn on those notifications so that you can get the most accurate and pinpoint information that you possibly can when it comes to these lines, because this could be very different even just a few hours from now. So with that being said, let's move on to the next one, which is sticking with the quarterback position here, Marcus Mariota. Now, this is interesting. This is another one where I don't mind going under on this one either. I'm looking specifically at his rushing yards. Now, Marcus Mariota has done a very good job using his legs to extend plays, and he also runs when he feels the pressure coming at him, right? We know he can't find Drake London. We know he can't find Kyle Pitts, but he sure can run. Now, last week, he only ran for 24 yards with Cordell Patterson coming in and with Tyler Algier blowing it up, which, spoiler alert, I'm going to get into him as well. But this 29 and a half was interesting to me because I think that they have the opportunity to run specifically with Marcus Mariota against the Carolina Panthers. And especially if they can get ahead on the Panthers, if Panthers are kind of struggling still a little bit, I don't mind this at all. Now, I know the number is a little bit higher because, yes, 29 and a half is higher than 24. I do completely understand that. But he's also rushed for over 80 yards a few times. He's gotten close to that a few times. He's not afraid to use his legs. And I also went the under on Justin Fields' rushing yards. So I might be a little jaded. I went the under on his rushing yards last week on the Sunday slate, and I was not happy. I got burned. So this could be a reactionary pick here from me, but I'm going to go ahead and do the over on Marcus Mariota at 29 and a half rushing yards. He's a quarterback for Atlanta Falcons, in case you didn't know. Now you do. Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, there's a lot of them on my TNF picks here. And I mentioned his name just a moment ago. It is Tyler Algier. He is the RB2, if you will, the line of scrimmage, ground and pound guy for the Atlanta Falcons. And he ran for 99 yards last week. So I don't know if I'm missing something here, but his line is only at 32 and a half rushing yards. So either I'm going crazy or this is a smash over. Now, I understand Cordell Patterson is back. I understand that I'm going the over on the Marcus Mariota running. But again, I think they can run on the Carolina Panthers. I still, after running for 99 yards with Cordell Patterson in, this was a smash over for me at 32 and a half for Tyler Algier. So again, I hope I'm not missing something here, but yeah, smash over. Tyler Algier over on the 32 and a half rushing yards. Speak of the devil. Let's hop right into Cordell Patterson. Now, last week, I said he's back. Yes, we've missed him so much. He scored 2 touchdowns. But what I found interesting was that he actually only had 53 combined rushing and receiving yards. And that's what I'm looking at this week for Cordell Patterson on the PrizePicks line is his rushing plus receiving yards. And it's at 62 and a half. So I'm kind of thinking that they're going to be using Cordell Patterson a little bit more in between the 20s and not just at the goal line, which is where we saw him play mostly and where he got most of his fantasy points is what I should say. I think they might have been easing him back just a little bit. So they're going to keep working him back. He's going to keep seeing more touches and a combined rushing and receiving, because don't forget, Cordell Patterson used to be a wide receiver. Combined rushing and receiving for Cordell Patterson at 62.5 was another smash over for me. I absolutely love this line. I should have put way more money on it actually than I did. I think I put a lower bet. You know what? I might make this again and like just do a bit like an even bigger bet. Wouldn't that be fun? That's what's cool about PrizePicks. You can actually do that. So either way, I'm going to go ahead and go the over on the combined rushing and receiving yards for Cordell Patterson at 62.5. And we have, last but not least, old trusty, I shouldn't call him old. He's quite young. He's a young man. Younghoe Koo. I mean, when in doubt, that's what he does. He kicks field goals. Atlanta relies on him to kick field goals. So I am all about the over on 1.5 field goals for Younghoe Koo. If Atlanta, for some reason, can't get into the end zone, and the multiple times I'm pretty sure they're going to be there, they've got Koo there. This is what he does, and I absolutely love it. So I hit the over on Younghoe Koo at 1.5 field goals. No, remember, that's field goals made, not just attempted. That would be nice. But it's field goals made, Younghoe Koo. So just real quick, I'm going to recap these for you. PJ Walker under, not over. Well, you can do over if you want, your life. Under on 175.5 passing yards. I have Marcus Mariota over at 29.5 rushing yards. Sticking with the rushing yards, I have Tyler Algier over at 32.5 rushing yards. If he's injured right now, and I don't even know this, I'm really going to kick myself in the head. But still, I still am shocked by that line. Either way, Cordell Patterson over 62.5 combined rushing and receiving yards, and then over on our boy Younghoe Koo for 1.5 field goals, which means if he makes 2, you're on the over, which is why I like those halves. Another just note to self here for yourselves, halves, look for the halves. When it's a whole and they meet the whole number, it's called a push. If you look for the half, that means you're either going to go over or you're going to go under, and there's not going to be a push. So I generally like to look at those half numbers because then there's really no middle ground there. Also, too, you do not have to do a 5-leg parlay if you do not want to. They are significantly harder to hit than, let's say, a 2, a 3, or a 4-leg parlay. So pick and choose which ones you want. If you want to do all 5, go for it. I did all 5. I'm going to be putting mine in our FTN Daily Picks Tracker over on our website, ftndaily.com. Remember, if you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, that's how easy it is. Over, under on these players. Plus, if you use my promo code SML, you can get the best projections, not just from Jeff Radcliffe, but we have so many amazing analysts that are there that combine their knowledge that can give you a better idea of what to expect, including fantasy points against, which I believe is one of our free tools. Can't remember if that's paid for or not. Either way, it's still there. Fantasy points against per position is one of my favorite tools to use. You can look at rankings, you can look at projections, combine that not only with your redraft fantasy team or your daily fantasy, use them for PrizePicks. When you sign up for PrizePicks, remember promo code FTN to get that first deposit of up to $100 matched, and then SML at FTN Fantasy to get 20% off any package. And good luck on that one. I really do think I'm going to put in another line and put more money on it because feeling good about these. Feeling really good about these. And no, it's not just the vino that's making me feel good. I feel good about these lines, especially that 32.5. I wonder how much he gets now. You guys have to hit me up. Like when that happens, hit me up and we can all celebrate together or lament together because such is football. It is educated guessing. But here we are. That's why we love and play this game. So speaking of redraft fantasy, speaking of how much we love/hate football, not only are we getting close to playoffs, everybody, it's nuts. We're heading into week 10. We also have another 4 teams on a bye. So let's go ahead and take a look at week 10 starts and fades, or as my very good friend now, because I'm going to talk about you every single time I see these beautiful slides, Bandit, let's go ahead. Thanks to you. And we are going to start with our all-day rosé starters for week 10. Look at that guy. Isn't he cute? The thumbs up. I absolutely love it. Plus, I love that player who happens to be on that slide. And that is none other than the Joshua Palmer, who was Josh Norris's sneaky MVP. Josh Norris, he's actually a super, super cool dude. But Josh Palmer is getting it done, all right? I don't think he did not find the end zone last week, but it that doesn't really matter because he got over 100 yards on 8 receptions. Mike Williams is also officially ruled out for another week, and Keenan Allen is still listed as questionable. This is Joshua Palmer's time. Even if Keenan Allen plays, Allen is going to play where he makes his hay as an all-day rose, and that is in the slot. And Josh Palmer can make it rain when it comes to those downfield big plays. Joshua Palmer can get it done. So whether or not Keenan Allen plays is not going to matter for me. Joshua Palmer is a must start. I absolutely love him. Playing. No, they're not playing the Falcons. What am I saying? No, either way, the matchup is fantastic for him. Start him, everybody. And if he, for some reason, is on your waiver wire, no bueno whatsoever. However, the one thing I do want to have everybody keep in mind when it comes to Joshua Palmer, remember that once Mike Williams comes back, he may slide back into that wide receiver 3 spot. So before the trade deadline, if you need another piece that's not at the wide receiver position, you might want to look to trade Joshua Palmer, especially if he has another really good game of over 100 yards. My next one here is welcome. We've been waiting. I mean, I'm not a Bears fan. In fact, I don't have a team. My team divorced me to go back to its second wife. I'm from St. Louis, in case you didn't figure that out. The Bears, all right? Chicago, Windy City. Justin Fields has arrived. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I doubted. I took the under on 50 rushing yards for Justin Fields, which is mighty. That's a mighty number, even for a mobile quarterback. He crushed my soul. Also didn't pass for more than I think 150 yards. Didn't matter. He still threw 2 touchdowns. And he still rushed for like 3,000 yards. And oh, please, everybody, do yourself a solid, all right? And check out any clip, if you haven't seen it already, of the head coach of the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, when Justin Fields ran past him on the sideline and then was actually coming back onto the field and walked past Mike McDaniel. And he just goes, "Stop it." Like yelled at Justin Fields, just said, "Stop it." And everyone started laughing. Even Justin Fields started laughing. But what's really funny about that is that his post-game press conference was hilarious because one of the journalists asked about it, and his response was epic. Just dry, deadpan, completely serious. He said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, he's like, well, no one had asked him to stop yet, so I figured I'd give it a try, but he didn't listen. He's not coachable. So, any other coaches that have a problem with him scrambling, they might want to find another tactic. Like, that is just hilarious. I laughed and laughed and laughed for hours after I heard that. But either way, Justin Fields is going to be a must start for me. Plus, they're playing the Lions. I think anyone playing against the Lions is sort of a must start at this point. I mean, except the Packers. Oh, goodness. I don't mean to laugh. Sorry, Packers fans. It's just this, as I said, this year is so weird. Aaron Rodgers, really? But, well done for you, Aiden Hutchinson. You do those dance moves, young man. Like I said, the Lions, enough said. Which is the same thing for my next must start, which is Darnell Mooney. Again, Lions, enough said. But I'm going to say just a little bit more about Darnell Mooney. Finally, he is living up to the expectations that we've expected from him. Of course, a lot of that is on the shoulders of Justin Fields and how well he is playing. But this matchup is absolutely beautiful. He had 8 targets, 7 receptions, only 43 yards and a touchdown. But man, it is pretty. It is pretty, pretty, pretty. And Justin Fields looks for him. He trusts him. And that's a chemistry that is very low key. So also keep your eye on Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney for the 2023 season. I almost forgot what year it was. For the 2023 season, I know it's very early. We're not even done with this one yet. But that's going to be a very, very sneaky wide receiver quarterback snack. Tasty stack for not only this week, but for next year as well. I'm excited about that one. Sorry, honey. My husband's a Lions fan, but it is what it is. These things happen. No need to worry. All right, moving on. Next one. Speaking of, husbands and significant others, I think Andy Dalton only has eyes for Chris Olave. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the only person that Andy Dalton was targeting and looking for. Now, I know he hit his head, I think, or got a little bit of a whiplash in Monday night's game. So I'm not sure of his status. Last I checked, it was fine. But he played like garbage because it's primetime Andy Dalton. If anyone who follows me on Twitter, they know that I lamented that whole situation. Either way, Olave is a must start, and he's a must start moving forward. It doesn't really depend on the matchup like whatsoever. But this week they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are absolutely atrocious. Their secondary is terrible, and yeah, they need a lot of help. So wide receivers are really, really feasting on this team. And as I mentioned, Andy Dalton only has eyes for Chris Olave. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 71 yards. And Andy Dalton actually looked for him 3 separate times in one drive in the end zone. Meanwhile, Kamara was wide open with no one around him and only had like 7 yards to run in for a touchdown 3 times. But no, Andy Dalton had to go to Chris Olave. He looks at him in short routes, long routes, intermediate routes, third down, first down, eighth down, doesn't matter. He loves Chris Olave. And also, Chris Olave is very, very talented. That young man is going places in his career in the NFL. So, Chris Olave, a must start for the New Orleans Saints. Last but certainly not least, pardon me, Amari Cooper, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. I know that this has been very wide receiver heavy, and I didn't really touch on the running backs. Message me later, Stepmom Lauren. I might be able to help you out with your running back starts, but too many juicy options here for your flex at wide receiver. And Amari Cooper is a perfect example of that. As I said, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. They're playing against the Dolphins. And the Dolphins are good on defense, but they actually are leaking points to the wide receiver position. Look what Justin Fields was able to do, not just with his legs, but also through the air against the Dolphins as well. So there is an opportunity for the wide receiver position and Jacoby Brissett or Jake Brisket to exploit a slightly weaker just slightly weaker secondary, but it is possible to do. And Amari Cooper is also Jacoby Brissett's favorite target. The Dolphins are actually 23rd worst on the season when it comes to wide receivers, and they've allowed over 1,400 yards to the position. And last week, Cooper had 5 receptions on 7 targets. Forget this, 131 yards. So, yeah. I think Amari Cooper is going to be an excellent start. Again, these are flex opportunities, everybody, and they have a combination of a decently safe floor with the possibility of incredibly high ceilings. So that's one of the reasons I stuck with this position and this specifically the wide receiver position. Easy for you to say. I'll just take a sip of this real quick. Specifically, the wide receiver position for your flex opportunities. But that's the fun part. Now, who are you going to sit, right? Because we have players that not only should be on your bench or maybe even on the waiver wire, but there are players going into week 10 that carry a ton of risk. And what I mean by that is their matchups may be terrible or their situations may be terrible. And the first one I'm going to get to on our No Way Chardonnay. Look at that guy all angry. I wonder if he works out. Is he like trying to flex there to be like, not only am I mad, but I have no muscles. My protein shakes aren't working. I mean, that's what I do. Although I don't have muscle, but I got plenty of mass. We'll just leave it at that. Good thing cameras from here to here. I like Twinkies, okay? And pancakes. Don't judge me. All right, first on our list for our fades. Oh, sad day. Let's go ahead and start with the crappy situations. Indianapolis Colts. Odd. All right, so in case you missed it, which I don't know how you did, but just in case you missed it, the Colts are putting their team and coaches, they're actually firing their coaches, but they're putting everybody else into a big blender, turning it on, and then they're dumping it out on the counter, and they're like, what do we have left? Like, that is kind of what they're doing with their offense right now. So just to get everyone up to speed, offensive coordinator fired. No play caller. Okay, that's okay. Frank Reich was calling plays, fired. Also benched Matt Ryan, let's not forget, for the very special Sam Ellinger. Sam Ellinger. Not good. Okay, this is not a good situation. They're not dedicating themselves to the run with Jonathan Taylor, who is banged up. And then Deion Jackson actually had to exit the game. This whole situation is an absolute mess. Either way, this is no bueno for the wide receiver position. I don't feel comfortable benching Michael Pittman, but I am fading Michael Pittman, which means that you should probably surround the rest of your roster with safe floor, high upside guys. That's what I mean by a fade. Not necessarily a must sit, but Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce are firmly in that I am terrified for their production role. Alec Pierce, I don't mind benching. Michael Pittman, I'm a little bit more worried simply because of the volume. Now, in case anybody also missed, just one last note about the Indianapolis Colts. They did hire ESPN's analyst Jeff Saturday, who is a consultant with the Indianapolis Colts, as well as a Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, you name it, no head coaching experience in college or pros. So this is going to be very interesting. I still think they're going to beat the Raiders somehow because the other guy who was going to get Frank Reich's job is Josh McDaniels. who's the head coach of the Raiders, who the Colts are playing this week. So much irony here. But either way, not confident in the wide receiver position. If anything, they're going to stay on the ground. So Alec Pierce is a bench. Michael Pittman is a fade. Now, let's go ahead and go into another matchup here, which is divisional. It's the Cardinals and the Rams, and I'm going to focus on Eno Benjamin. Not only is this matchup terrible against the Rams, who are salvaging some of their dignity with Aaron Donald in the defense, but James Conner is back. That's just not good for Eno Benjamin. I mean, he barely did anything except give James Conner a water break. So when James Conner is healthy and on the field, Eno's going to have to be on your bench. Now, stash him, don't drop him, because as we have learned from James Conner, he runs hard. He runs with passion, but that's not good for sustainability issues. So hang on to Eno, but keep him on your bench. The James Conner situation, it's just no bueno. Now watch him score a touchdown because I just said that, because that's how fantasy football works. But Eno Benjamin, scary situation. Bench him if you can. I understand with bye weeks it might be a little tough, but not good. Not good for Eno Benjamin. Another running back I want to bring up who's in a very muddy situation. It is the entirety of the Broncos running back. So I'm specifically going to point out Latavius Murray here. This is scary, right? So they just came off of a bye, which is yay, nice rest. That's really good. But we're having a very weird situation here with Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray anyway. And now bring in Chase Edmonds, who's one of my favorite players, a pass catching, route running running back. This is weird. It's a very muddy situation, so I would try to avoid all three if I can. I don't mind starting Melvin Gordon, but I'm definitely very, very scared to start Latavius Murray with the addition of Chase Edmonds coming off of a bye. That gives the offense and Chase Edmonds plenty of time to kind of play some catch up and get to know the offense a little bit more, which means he's probably going to be more involved than not, as opposed to immediately starting right after the trade deadline. So that does worry me. I would fade both Chase Edmonds and Latavius Murray. You can start Melvin Gordon if you have to. Just understand you're going to need some high upside pieces in your roster just to make up for any kind of a deficit. So I touched on one wide receiver already. Let's do another one here. I'm going to go Robert Woods, which stinks because I love Bobby Trees, but we have a big problem. Actually, we have several problems here with the Tennessee offense. First of all, it runs through Derrick Henry. Let's just be honest here. So not only is the volume really not going to be there, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Not really sure about Ryan Tannehill's status. And Robert Woods got a big fat 0 with Malik Willis at quarterback, who looked great. I mean, he was running all over the place. They don't really need him. You're going to have to fade Robert Woods. I would try to bench him if you can, because a 0 is really, really hard to overcome in any matchup. So Robert Woods is very terrifying for me. And last but not least, before we let you go from this video to enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning, whenever it is that you're watching this, Devin Singletary, running back for the Buffalo Bills. If you followed me for any length of time, you probably have an idea of exactly what it is I'm going to say. There is literally no difference between the Devin Singletary that we know in this year as opposed to what we had last year before he exploded right before the playoffs, right? Like postseason. All right, okay, whatever. It's still Josh Allen's offense, not only through the air, but with his legs. Here's the caveat. Josh Allen is day-to-day with an elbow injury. Could mean more work, but we also have Nyheim Hines here. This is a situation where I am fading Devin Singletary, not sitting Devin Singletary, because there is going to be volume-ish there. I mean, he does get some work, but very capped upside. I'm worried about it. Not only that, the matchup is not good. They're playing the Vikings, who are surprisingly stout on defense. I believe they're the 7th best against running backs, and they've only allowed 556 yards so far. That's roughly 76 yards per game. I got that information on our FTN Fantasy Points Against, FTNFantasy.com, promo code SML to get 20% off. Pretty good stuff. Also only allowed 4 touchdowns to running back. So it does worry me. You might have to play him again. We're talking about bye weeks here, but I don't love it. I don't love it at all. And there you have it. Those are my starts and fades, my all-day rosés and my no-way Chardonnays. Again, Bandit, thank you very much. And everyone, just as a quick reminder, again, this show is made possible by PrizePicks. Head on over to PrizePicks.com, promo code FTN, just like our network, to get your first deposit of up to $100 matched. Go ahead and go over to ftndaily.com, put in your picks, follow along with us. And everybody, good luck in week 10. And hopefully pretty soon here, we're going to be talking about who we're going to start in your lineups for the playoffs. Good luck, everyone.